Hi, I'm Priscilla Archangel, and my faith-centered leadership lesson for you today is a stress test. Now, a couple of weeks ago I had my annual physical, and this time, for the first time in several years, they gave me a stress test. So my body was hooked up with electrodes from, chest to legs, and they put me on a treadmill and started it out deceivingly slow until it ramped up at a high pitch also, a high incline also, and I was really huffing and puffing by the end of it. But the good news is I passed my stress test. My heart is in great shape. And so then that got me to thinking about other stress tests in life. Now, banks administer stress tests to see if they are able to withstand financial and economic crises. And in fact, the European Banking Authority recently administered a stress test to 90 or so banks that are part of it and found some banks were lacking and really were not prepared for it. And there are stress tests in our organizations as well. So what happens when we have an organizational crises? Now, it could be a PR crisis, it could be a R&D related crisis, it could be a manufacturing quality crisis, it could be a financial crisis in our organization, any variety of things. But how well is our organization prepared to withstand that crisis? So for instance, what are the communication channels that are in place? Do people understand each other's roles and responsibilities well enough in the organization? Do people agree with the mission and the vision and the values of that organization? What's their level of employee engagement in the organization? And how deep is the leadership talent in the organization? Those are all important things that will determine how well an organization will survive its own stress tests. Jesus and the disciples went through their own stress tests, particularly the disciples when their leader was taken away from them so abruptly, in their minds at least, after 3 years of following him and hanging on to every word that he said and trying to understand what he meant by all of it. Suddenly they were on their own and told to preach the gospel. And even though Jesus arose and gave them some further encouragement, it was now their time to go forward and share the good news with others. But they were able to pass their stress test because they got the message ultimately. They understood what they were supposed to do, they caught the vision, they went forward with it, and they were prepared. So when we think of the stress test that we will experience in life, and we will all have a stress test in our lives, the question is, are we prepared for it? Do we know what our mission is, what our personal vision and values are? Do we know what we're supposed to be doing in our lives? And are we prepared to take both ourselves and our organization forward in a moment of intense stress? So that's my question for you to think about today. Are you prepared for your stress test? It's going to come. Get ready for it so that you can pass the test with flying colors. Thanks for listening.